when you start making decisions based on your human design, doors open, opportunities appear in your path. You're able to tap into things that you need to so you can respond to an environment or project your ideas into the environment or just manifest shit out of thin air. Welcome to the Glow Up Revolution podcast, a podcast for overgivers, overachievers, and the strong ones in the room. We discuss everything from neuroscience-based burnout prevention to magic spells we can cast for upcoming job opportunities and everything in between. Welcome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Welcome back to the Glow Up Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Megan Winkler, and today we're talking about ancient influences on modern leadership. And I want to share this with you today for a couple of reasons. So one is that our ideas about what leadership, self-leadership, business leadership, all that is, those ideas are not new. And we can look at them through the lens of goddesses. Are you ready? I'm so excited about this. So we have been handed leadership frameworks, right? And if you don't know, I am also literally a military historian. So I started off my career in teaching and writing, and eventually got into like marketing writing, and then marketing, and then business coaching, and wrote the burnout book, all the things, and here we are now. But in my studies, I actually read all of these books that the dude bro business guys like to pretend they read. So I have read The Art of War and studied it intimately. I know all about Sun Tzu. I have read Machiavelli's The Prince. I have read Clausewitz. I have read, all of these documents that the dude bro marketers and dude bro business guys will say that they've read or refer back to. I literally, I could show you the pile of books that I have annotated because I had to write about this stuff. I had to figure out how to teach this stuff, had to process this stuff. So when it comes to leadership, I have all that knowledge in the back end, right? And so a lot of it was a command and control structure, right? A lot of what we see in the business world comes from some of that militaristic influence, for better or worse. And that whole leaders don't show emotion thing where, it's like we want to keep emotion out of it. It's like, it's business. It's not personal. And it's like, you know what? When we're working with human beings, business is personal. Work is personal. But we came to all of this stuff in leadership through systems built by men, studied on men, tested in environments designed for men. Honestly, I know I've referred to this before on the podcast, but going back and rewatching Mad Men, I was like, wow, this is actually a pretty faithful portrayal of what it was like in the 60s in a corporate setting. It was male-centric, and women were there to provide support and comfort and entertainment and all of that because that's just how it was. But I want to share with you what happened centuries before we got to the point of Machiavelli and the Prince, for example. Before we got to the Middle Ages, before we got to the big takeover of the Catholic Church across the world. There are goddess archetypes that extend back to the very beginning of humanity. And unlike what we are typically sold as the divine feminine or the feminine aura or energy, excuse me, these goddesses are not soft. They're not decorative. They're not just, arm candy on some god. They provided templates for building civilizations, for building communities, even for waging war and for healing and for transformation as well. So there are messages in these myths and in these stories that we can take and develop leadership wisdom from, because it's right there. It's sitting right there. So I'm going to share with you four archetypes and four goddesses. And after this, I'm actually going to record a little bit of bonus content that's going to be available to my Patreon members only, where I'm actually talking about four real life women leaders who helped command armies, who helped shape nation states. Okay, so be sure to tune in there. I'll have all the links in the show notes. But for now, we are going to talk about some goddesses. And I know I said four, I actually meant five. So 5 archetypes. So the first one we're going to look at is Isis, and she is the architect of resurrection. She rebuilt in her leadership. Okay, so if you have heard the stories, her husband was chopped into bits and all this, and she literally put him back together. So when everything was scattered and broken, she actually put him back together. So the story goes that her husband Osiris was a wise king, and he was murdered by his jealous brother Set. And Set dismembered his body and scattered it everywhere. So Isis actually used her magic to gather those pieces together, put them all back together, and resurrect him long enough to be able to conceive their son Horus, who later rises up and avenges his father. Okay, so she didn't look to anybody else for that hard work. She didn't wait for somebody to hand her the authority. She used her knowledge, her intuition, her magic, her patience, and her radical devotion to her husband and to the lineage, right? To restore what seemed irreparable. So the leadership lesson here is that we can hold a vision through chaos, and we can rebuild from fragments in a different new way. Okay. So if everything feels like it's falling apart, Isis gives us this beautiful example of being able to reconstruct things, rebuild from the ground up. And that can be some of the hardest things that we are asked to do as humans, as business owners, and as leaders within ourselves and out in the world. So the next one is Athena. Athena is the strategist who trusted her own counsel. So if you know the story of Athena, Athena was actually born as a full-grown adult from the head of Zeus. So she is not a virgin birth, but she is definitely just kind of a, I don't know if that's metamorphic or I don't know. But she leapt from his head like he had a splitting headache, literally. And because of this, she operated from her own authority. Athena was actually the very first goddess I connected with. I connected with her in the 5th grade when we had to do a project and presentation on the Greek gods and goddesses. And I just connected with Athena right away. What I love about her is that she is the goddess of wisdom, and she's the goddess of warfare. So she is the goddess of war strategy and methodology, not like Ares, who's the god of war, who is just ready to slaughter everything. She is the one that comes in with wisdom and strategy. So she also does not ask permission, right? Just as Isis did not ask permission, did not wait for anyone else, Athena doesn't either. She shares her opinion. She doesn't hedge her expertise to make other people comfortable, to make everything suitable. She leads with clarity. She leads with judgment, the positive kind, and with directness. So the lesson here is that her fiercely rational example reminds us that confidence is not arrogance, and that we can provide clarity to ourselves and to those around us without being aggressive. We can just hold fast to our opinions and our thoughts. So when you are leading from the full force of your own wisdom, that's Athena vibed energy, right? And you can really lean into that. So being that confident strategist. Artemis provides another example. So Artemis is the sister of Apollo, and she was born from her mother first. They're twins, and she actually popped out and then turned around and helped her mother deliver Apollo, which don't think about that too hard. Um, the ancient Greeks had some really interesting ideas about the gods and goddesses. But so yeah, don't overthink it. But Artemis is the goddess of the hunt. She's the goddess of the wild and of the moon. And so she has always kept her own domain. She's always kept her own boundaries. She's always known what was hers and what wasn't. And she does not chase approval at all. And in fact, when men chase after her, she will sometimes turn them into the very deer they were hunting. So she helps remind us that we can set boundaries and that our boundaries are not cold, they're not difficult, they're not ungenerous. They're actually kind first to ourselves and then to other people because they are clear. If our boundaries are clear, they become kind, right? The perception of the person on the other end of the boundary may not feel like it's all that nice, but niceness and kindness are two different things, okay? So the lesson here is that those of us who lead with the most sustainability are actually the ones who are protecting their energy, their mission, their people, their purpose, their business, and they do so unapologetically. So this is a really great reminder to lead with boundaries so you can take care of yourself and others. So Kali is the disruptor who clears the way. So there's cool leadership lessons even in Kali. I just love this so much. And Kali shows up when it is time to destroy the old and move into the new. Okay, she is the goddess of truth, of life cycles, of transformation, of death. And she makes people uncomfortable. Okay. She destroys things when they need to be destroyed. And what she really destroys is illusion. She is primed to the ego death. So when our ego is too big for its britches, sometimes Kali comes in and says, no, 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 no. And she's going to clear away what is false, what is a story we've been telling ourselves to make room for what is real and authentic. Okay. So Kali's energy is the courage to end what isn't working, right? So to have the hard conversations, to completely scrap the business idea you had, to discontinue partnerships, things that look good on paper and don't actually work in real life. She is here to help us remember that we can start these little fires if we need to. We can end these things, right? Because the lesson here is that disruption and destruction are not necessarily the same thing, right? That we can have discernment and disrupt a pattern or even just destroy it, like whatever works for you. And sometimes the best leadership move is to actually clear the way for something else. Sometimes the best leadership avenue to go down is to like take that piece of paper, crumple it up, toss it in the trash, and move on with your life. Okay. And then finally, we have Quan Yin, who is the compassionate authority. And I just adore Quan Yin. She is a Buddhist goddess of mercy and compassion. And she is not passive in any way, shape, or form. She has active compassion. She has active, boundless energy and love for people. And she is completely unafraid of suffering. She doesn't look away from the hardship, right? So when we feel like our empathy is a liability, Quan Yin says, honey, that's the exact way you should go. Your ability to be present when others are experiencing challenges, when they're unsure how to go about things, when they're unsure about their path in life, that ability is the map, is the way to go. And it is the highest form of strength. So her lesson is that compassionate leadership doesn't necessarily mean it's nice leadership, but compassionate leadership is honest. because again, we're coming back around to that clarity, right? And when you lean into the clarity, you are doing so from a very compassionate, kind space. Okay. So those are just 5 goddesses who teach us leadership lessons. And I would love to cover some more. So when you're listening to this, pop down in the comments. Let me know who else you want me to cover. And I will do so in upcoming episodes or on social media or something like that. So as we look at these goddesses, I want you to notice something. So some of these things probably came through loud and clear, but just in case they didn't. Each one of these goddesses also kind of aligns to a specific kind of authority. So Isis's authority is restoration, Athena's is strategy, Artemis's is sovereignty, Kali's is disruption, and Quan Yin is compassion. None of these goddesses lead or make decisions in the same way, and none of them are leading from a template that was handed to them. They did not ask permission. They took their experiences, their wisdom, and went forward and led from their nature, and they lead from their nature today if you're working with these goddesses today. So when we think about this, there's an untapped tool that is available to us in a feminine leadership template, map, if you will, that we can bring in that helps us understand our authority, and that is human design. Don't clock out, don't tune me out. Please stick with me, stay with me, because human design is not like this personality quiz that you take once and forget it. It actually is giving you that map, that roadmap, that is part of your energetic blueprint for how you operate, make decisions, you lead. And yes, of course, it's like really interesting to dig into it because we all like personality tests. We all like to hear about ourselves. But your human design actually tells you 3 key things. I'm not going to go way in depth on anything today because this might be your first introduction to human design, but it tells you your type, authority, and profile. So your type tells you how your energy moves and how you're meant to engage with the world. So it's like how you're built to initiate or respond or wait or project your energy into the world. Your authority tells you how to make aligned decisions. So whether that's like a gut response, an emotional clarity, yes, no, intuitive knowing, that sort of thing. And your profile tells you the role you're here to play. So maybe you're the teacher or the heretic or the investigator. It's essentially an archetype. So when you put all of this stuff together, you have a leadership type that is uniquely your own. It is not borrowed from anywhere else. It is not that masculine template that we talked about a few episodes ago. It's not some floaty, fluffy, divine feminine leadership that might be out there. It's not something that you're reading in a book. It is something that is original and encoded within yourself. And human design integrates the I Ching, integrates astrology, and the chakra system to help you gain this insight about yourself. So, what does that look like? So it could look like a projector who's trying to initiate and work like a generator. And that projector starts waiting for the recognition that they're meant to receive, and they don't get it because they're operating from this generator point of view. It can look like a manifesting generator who is hesitant to pivot when she is called to. Okay, so when we are working in the She Disruption program, yes, I gotta plug this program because I'm so fucking excited, you guys. I'm so excited. This is where you will learn what energy archetypes you align to. We're even bringing in a little bit of that goddess energy because they're not separate from this, right? We have goddesses who really, like, you could run a human design chart on, like, in theory, and just be like, oh, Artemis is a manifester and Athena is a projector, right? So we're going to bring in the goddess wisdom as well, because I want that manifesting generator to stop apologizing for pivoting. I want that projector to stop trying to work like she's a generator and actually create less friction in her day to day life and let her genius lead the way, right? Together with human design, with all that military strategy I told you about at the beginning of this episode, and all the goddesses, we can connect these things all together and create a framework for self-leadership that informs how you run your business, how you grow your client list, how you operate in corporate America if you are still working for someone else for right now. And no shade, if that's where you want to stay forever, that is perfect, because different environments for different people, you get what you need. But it also trickles over into how you relate with your family, your partner, your kids, the community, anywhere you're volunteering, your book club, your workout club, your workout classes, that sort of thing. It literally, when you are leading from inside, from yourself, leaning into the blueprint that's already within you, looking to these beautiful divine archetypes as well to find the one that matches you, you will shift everything in your life. Everything. So up until this point, I want you to know, if you suddenly discover your human design and you're like, oh my gosh, I have been working against this human design forever, I don't want you to feel bad, okay? Because what you've done is you've adapted to your environment, right? And sometimes our environments don't have room for who we actually are. Sometimes we're kind of that round peg trying to fit in that square hole, or we've been put into a box by others. Maybe we've been put into a box as far back as our childhood. That happens. And you want to hide things too. For instance, going back to that manifesting generator example of being able to pivot really quickly and shift and move with kind of the energies that come in and that manifesting energy, but also responding to the world around you. Like pivoting all the time or reinventing your business all the time, that gets shade from a lot of people. You also probably felt a lot of pressure from the whole, like, you've got to find your niche crowd. Right? Guess what? For your design type, a niche may make 0 sense. And when you align with your human design type, I have found in working with clients and even within myself, when you start making decisions based on your human design, doors open, opportunities appear in your path. You're able to tap into things that you need to, so you can respond to an environment or project your ideas into the environment or just manifest shit out of thin air. And that alignment helps you lead from within and lead yourself based on your nature, just like the goddesses did. See how I wound that around? So if this episode landed for you, please share it with friends. Comment, like, subscribe, all of that. I also want to tell you a little bit about the upcoming workshop I have next week. It is Tuesday, the 28th at 11 a.m. Central. It is completely free. I will have the link in the show notes below this episode. And this workshop is going to focus on your human design type and how it relates to leadership within self-leadership and your business as a wider focus. So if you have no idea what human design is and you are super curious, this is a great place to start out. I also will not have some gross sales pitch at the end. I have an offer that I will take 1 minute and 30 seconds is my goal to tell you about. And that is it. Other than that, the whole thing is a workshop where you will actually be discovering things about yourself, complete with a Q&A session at the very end. So I would love to have you there. If you can't make it live, I will be sending out the replay, so no worries on that. That workshop is called Lead Like You're Built. And again, it is super hands-on and is shaping up to be really, really freaking cool. So I'd love for you to join me there. Also, don't forget to head over to Patreon for the extra bonus content where I'm talking about actual real life women leaders that you should totally know about from history. The Patreon is free to join if you would like to, and if you want to sign up for an actual membership subscription, those start at $3 a month. And so this extra bonus content is going to be for those paid members that start at $3 a month. And every week you also get a weekly energy update with a tarot card pulled for you and some pretty sweet bonuses depending on the tier you pick. So thanks again so much for listening. Check the show notes for all of the important links. Come hang out on Instagram or send me a DM or an email and let me know what you think about the episode. Let me know what goddess you want me to cover next, and let me know if you have any questions. And until next time, my friends, stay hydrated, stay safe, and as always, of course, stay magical. I'll see you next week.